All right, so in the last video, we modeled these two little flower pots. And what we're going to do in this one is we're going to take a look at unwrapping them. And then in the next video, we'll essentially model out these little leaves. And yeah, let's take a look. So with this one, it's got similar leaves to this guy. So what I might do is um, just sort of, well, let's see where we go with this. Because the technique is going to be essentially the same. It's just a matter of your application and how you plan on doing it. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So we want to unwrap this. So this the first step in the process is you model something. The second step is you unwrap it, and then the third step is you texture paint it. So let's start with this. So we've covered UVing in the past where we did it with the window, right? And we kind of did this like forward projection thing. But with this, which pot are we on? Let's see, pot 2. Which one is that? Let's hit A here and then just kind of focus in on that. All right, so with this pot, the way that UVing generally works is, and that's why it's important that uh, we start with something simple like a pot and then we move up to characters later, is anywhere there's a plane change. And what I mean by plane change is you want to think of these as like straight lines, right? So the line here you could see is straight. That's one plane. This is a plane on the x-axis. And then the plane change is where there's a hard edge. So there's a hard edge here. You can consider that a hard or soft edge. But wherever the edge sort of starts to happen, you do a second plane. So you would have one plane here, a second plane here, and then another plane here. And this is where you would put cuts. Right now, our flower pot is not unwrapped properly. You can see I can select this. I can select these top pieces. Let me hit 3 to go to face mode. And they're laying flat. Like, see how it just shows an edge with a line going up? It doesn't, we need to see it. We should be able to recognize the different parts of this flower pot. And again, I understand that a lot of this is word salad until we get into it. So what we want to do, like I said, is we want to place seams, because UVing comes from this world of the fabric world, or how you would lay out clothing. So we want to create the 2D representation where we place seams. So let's go ahead and select an edge where we'd like a seam. So I'm going to hit 2 to go to edge mode. Holding Alt and Shift or Option and Shift, I'm going to left click and then select this edge here. And then what I want to do is right click and I want to do Mark Seam. And we know that it took because it's going to have a thick line here. The next thing we want to do, remember I mentioned this plane change, is at the bottom we have another area. So I'm going to select this, and that represents the bottom of our pot here. And I want to place another seam. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to hit Mark Seam. And then let's take a look. I like to just kind of periodically unwrap the whole thing and see how it looks. So I'm going to hit A, and I'm going to hit U, and then unwrap angle based. And you can see here we have our top. So let's go ahead and select this face. And with this top, we've got the inside here. Now, ideally, a better unwrap would be if we added a cut here and a cut here, because we do have a plane change on the inside. And I don't necessarily have well, I think this is fine for now. I'm just representing it, but ideally we would do that. But it's okay right now because what we're looking at here is a two-dimensional representation of this view from the top. Okay? So the other issue we have is this doesn't necessarily look like the shape of this from the front, right? Like we're looking at this. This looks like it's kind of the top view. So what you want to do is you want to place a seam and you want to sort of cut this, and then it almost looks like it's being pulled apart so it faces this direction. So let me show you what that means. So I'm going to hit 2, and in the view this time, I'm going to select this view here, and I'm going to hold Alt and Shift. I'm just going to click one of these edges, and that'll create a line there. And you could see it also corresponds to here. Now it looks like my pot wasn't sewn. Like there's a little bit of a, here, let me see if I move this. Oh yeah, it created a little subdivision where that's at. So we're going to go ahead and just weld these two edges. So I'm going to hold Alt Shift, or actually, let me hit 1, select all of this edge here where there's a cut, and I'm going to actually hit Alt and C or Option and Z, so that we get expert mode. I'm going to select all of these, and I'm just going to hit M to merge, and then I'm going to do by distance, and let's just see if that little bit that they have centroid merge there, centroid merge worked. So I'm going to select this vert again and move it. It looks like let's hit Alt Z here. It looks like it welded that pretty well. Okay, so let's do that one more time. I'm just going to hit L or hit 3 to go to face mode. And I'm going to hit L. And I want to just select that. And then I want to select the other area where there's a cut. Looks like there might be a cut here. So let me hit 2. See if I move that. Yeah, there's another cut there. So same thing we did before. Just holding Alt to snap the view. Pressing 1. Remember, Shift and middle mouse click will rotate this. Alt Z or Option Z to go to X-ray mode, and then select all of those, and then hit M as in mark, and then merge by distance. Okay. Now, if I hit L, it should select. Looks like it selected all of it. And that's not what we want. We want to select just the faces that make this thing up. So I'm going to go in here, hit 3, then hit L again, and yes, there we go. So it selected everything but those top. This time I'm going to hit U again, and I'm going to unwrap angle based. Now you can see that put it all as one big chunk. But again, it doesn't look like this shape. It doesn't look like it's unwrapped that way. So what I want to do is add that cut I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to hit 2, holding Alt and Shift. I'm just going to grab any kind of edge here. And you can see now it added a line that way. I'm going to right click and I'm going to do Mark Seam. And now I have a cut here. So this will actually get pulled apart from this seam. So let's try that. So back in this view, I'm going to hit L to select that shell. In this view, I'm going to hit U because the hotkeys are different. So if I hit U in here, you can see we get some of those options, but not all of them. But we could actually use, because this is what we want. I'm going to hit angle based. Now you could see we actually have a representation. So I'm going to hit L or 3 and then L just to select. Come on, 3 and then L and hit R for rotation. Now you can see we get something that looks somewhat like the shape here. It's not perfect because, we could cut this top piece, and then that would, give us it would start to shape more. It'll look more like this. So let me just show you that. Let me go ahead and, because there is a little bit of a plane change here, I'm going to hit 2, select that, hit U, or I'm sorry, right click, and then hit Mark Seam, select this whole thing, hit U again, and unwrap. And you can see it's starting to slowly match that shape a little bit better. So let's go ahead and just sort of rotate this. I think this is the top. Yeah, that's the top. So, and then just kind of bring this down. And you could sort of just continuously kind of cut this so that the shape matches a little bit better. But for now, what I'm really interested in more than anything is just sort of this being able to paint on the surface of this model. So this, let's see, let's select this. Just going to move it off to the side by hitting G. I'm going to press 1 to go to vertex mode just to select those verts. It looks like that's the bottom, so I'm going to hit R to rotate this like that. Move this up here. And let's grab this top piece here. I'm going to hit G. I hit L to select it, by the way. And then L, I want to select this bottom piece. And this bottom piece is going to be sitting on the floor. It could almost be deleted, to be honest with you. But I want to give most of my UV space to the actual shape of this pot. Now, the reason for that is, imagine this is a piece of paper. If you were to draw a smiley face, like very small here, you're not going to get much detail. But the area that has the biggest part of your piece of paper, if you were to paint on it, you'll get a great deal more space there. You'll get a lot more, you'll be able to paint in a lot more details. Now, something else I forgot to mention is when you're unwrapping something, you can see it's a little bit skewed, right? You always want to make sure that your item here, like your scale, and it looks pretty good, and your location, all that is set to like it's essentially zeroed out, right? So I'm going to go ahead and hit Control A, and I'm going to do all transforms, and then Control A again, and then rotation and scale. And what that's going to give me is looks like my pivot point was also moved. So I'm going to make sure I'm in object mode, and I'm going to go object, set origin to geometry. And that's going to give me the best possible way. And don't worry too much about this because we've already freeze transformed it, that it's there. It's going to give me the best possible chance at making sure that this is unwrapped as clean as possible. So I'm going to hit 3, hit L to select that, and then U again, and then unwrap. And there we go. Because I cleaned out those transforms, now you can see that the pot looks a bit more symmetrical and clean. See that? So always make sure to do that. You're kind of resetting your transforms, you're cleaning it out, and let's make sure that's the top. That is the top. All right, so let's do this one more time, and I'm going to go ahead and just save this project. And let's do that with our other pod here. So back into layout mode, I want to tab, go to object mode, and I want to select this one now. And I'm going to hit Control A, all transforms. And let's take a look at how we can unwrap this pod. So back in UV editing mode, let's kind of move over to the side here. And I can actually hide this other pod. It's kind of getting in my way. And again, I want to look for plane changes. So there's a couple of plane changes going on here. And this time we'll unwrap this one a little bit more in detail. There's a plane change here. There's a plane change that happens with these bottom faces here, right? Let me go ahead and just alt click on that edge so you can see it. There's a plane change there. There's a plane change that happens down here. There's a plane change here. There's a plane change there. And these would kind of be plane change together. And same thing up here, plane change. And this time, what I think I might do is I'm going to go ahead and unwrap like this area and then that. So you'll be able to see a little bit more detail how I would unwrap it. So let's go through now that we've done one, and let's unwrap this one a little bit more in detail. So hitting 2 and then Alt and Shift or Option Shift, select that, right click, mark seam. I'm going to select this one in here, Shift R. That was redoing last action. That's what that does, but it actually selected. So I'm just going to go through here, select that, select this. Let me hit Alt C so you could see. I'm going to select this outside one here, select this one here. Actually, we want to go a little bit higher. Let's undo that. Let's go in a little bit more. Select this, select this. And then I'm going to right click, mark seam. Now with all of this, with the exception of the top and the bottom, I do want a cut. So anywhere that's flat, I don't need a cut. So actually, let's just hit A, hit U to unwrap it and take a look at what we got. So it looks pretty good, but again, this should look like a cylinder that's unwrapped, not a top-down view. Same thing with this area here, and same thing with these, right? So let's just go ahead and where we see the red line here, I'm going to go and use this view because the reason is if I hit 2 here and I hit Alt and Shift, it's going to run a line all the way down. And I want to not cut this area here. So the trick is to use your 2D view. So I'm going to hold Alt and Shift here, make sure that that goes all the way across. And where am I selecting that? That's up top. Okay, I do not want to do that. I want to do this one, which is this guy. Okay, so let's select our edge here because I'll use this as kind of the same edge for all of them. Alt and Shift. Right click, mark seam. And then we want this edge here, Alt and Shift, making sure it goes all the way across. I'm trying to get that little bit there. Right click, mark seam. And let's do that on the inside here. Let's see, where is that at? Hit Alt and Option Z here so I can, there, we want this one here. So let's find that up here somewhere. And then right click, mark seam, and then I'm gonna hit U. Oh, actually, let's just hit A again, just to select all of this, and then U, and then unwrap angle base. And now we get something that looks a little bit more like what we need. So for example, this part here is really important, right? And the top is up there. So let's go ahead and do 3. Sorry, L, R for rotation, and then 90 degrees. Or actually, we want to do minus 90. Looks like I grabbed part of the other one too. Let's do all L, R, and then minus 90. And I'm going to move that here. And then where's our top here? Okay, that's the bottom there. So L, R, and then 90. And we're just going to move that here. You just hit L to select both of those and move them down. And this is our inside, and that's our inside top. L, R, minus 90 is what we want. And then these guys are just our top and bottom. So what I would like to do is just to kind of conserve space is I'm going to select that inside face, just move it inside of here. And then this is the bottom, just move that inside of here. And just, let's go ahead and I'm just going to click L a bunch of these and just move them up to the corner. Scale them down a bit. Actually, let's move this next to it. Something like that. And then these, let's bring them in here. Like I said, this one's gonna get the most of my paint, even though it's just kind of a flat pot, but I think it'd be cool, and I'm totally fine with you guys kinda making your own designs, like, if you're trying to make a Greek make this into, like, a Greek villa, or if something from your own culture or heritage would be really beautiful if you wanna put flags on stuff, it's kinda cool, but for now, um, I'm just trying to get you to get some, get comfortable with unwrapping, right? And for me, I was a character artist for many, many years, but the way I really learned to unwrap and model is I worked on a firefighting simulator, and I had to make like spice racks that were burning and all this stuff. And I got really, really good at modeling assets because I was doing everything for houses. Anyway, back to this. It looks pretty good. We can unhide our other pot, and I think that's good for this video. Let's make sure that our origin is also set origin to transform, or origin to geometry, so that we can make sure that's in the right spot. And I'm going to save this, and I think that's good for the end of this lecture. And the next one, actually, what I might do is maybe I'll make a separate texture sheet where I put all of the vegetation on. So that way we can use this if we want to not have it in a pot. We want to just have it like, see how this is on the floor. We can reuse some of these for that.